Hey guys, welcome into the Bear With Us podcast. I'm Jack. That's Frank, right over there. Guy in the left or right, depending on where you watch this. Frank, how you doing? Good?
I don't know if good describes it, Jackie. It's listen, it's been a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, it has been a struggle. And Frank, people are always, when I ask them if they've seen the podcast, one of the things they like most is when we touch on the positives. We keep this light, keep positive. So that's where we're going to start today. Let's touch on some positives of this Bears-Chiefs game, 41-10 loss in Kansas City.
And thank you everyone for listening to the Bear With Us podcast. We listed all the positives for you to start your week 4 in a good manner. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Everybody love everybody. Don't forget. I'm not even kidding. I was just going to start this podcast with silence. Because, I mean, there's really nothing left to say.
No, I know.
Frank.
But you know what, though? I feel like the biggest disappointment for me, Jack, is we're in a position where, like, what is there to, like, analyze from week to week? Like, again, we came into this year, 6 wins maybe is the floor, 5 or 6 wins is the floor, and you luck into a couple wins. Maybe you're sneaking in 7, 8 wins, 9 wins into the playoffs, right? And, I sort of prepared myself this season to be like, man, like, let's see the strides that Jalen Johnson continues to make. Let's see the strides that Justin and who's going to be the bell cow running back. Like, will DJ Moore have a year? Can Darnell Mooney be a 2? Can Claypool do anything? I mean, no talking point that you could have imagined going into this year has come to fruition. Like, how are we back at the point where it's like, are we just going to blow it up again? Do we get a whole new GM? Do we get a whole new coach? Do we get a whole new this? Like, that's not, that's the portion that's not fun for me. But besides any sort of team expectations or expectations that we had for Fields or Moore or whoever, we came in with the same expectation last year or the same, what we wanted from the team. We just wanted them to be watchable. We just want them to be fun, be a modern NFL team. And they just can't do that. We just, they just can't. No. They refuse.
They've got a coach. They've got a head coach who's in over his head, who's had to deal with something that I don't know if I've really seen. When was the last time that a defensive coordinator just left for reasons that are still unknown? Rumors, we don't know the full story yet. Still. Somehow, even though we have 1,000 beat writers in this city, apparently none of them are able to figure out what exactly happened.
Yeah,
whatever.
But it isn't that. But Jack, to isolate that really quick, and you can continue on the laundry list. But isn't that like a sign that it's something really big?
I would think so.
Right? Because even the reports, it wasn't even a report. I think it was Jalen Johnson himself, or it was someone on defense like, yeah, we really don't know. I know as much as you. And I mean, that to me, you hear the rumors of his house being raided and things happening, and you heard even more extreme rumors that, since they're not confirmed, I don't think we touch on that here. But regardless, you would think, like, is the FBI involved? Is there some sort of investigation happening? Because not only did the Bears not tell them, they made it very clear that HR is the one who stepped in. Something happened that the Bears just scrubbed his existence. They didn't thank him for his service. They immediately took him off the website. It was I mean, I've never seen this before.
Right. And they just became a clown show across the NFL, because right before that, Justin Fields had gone off on Luke Getsy, which you and I were actually pretty happy about. And I think most Bears fans were too, because it was refreshing honesty from a franchise that has acted like it's top secret government stuff that they're dealing with. And just here, Justin walked back his comments, well documented. I was fine with that happening. I was fine, and I think that's what's most frustrating is, like, Justin seems like a good guy. and you want him to succeed. I just believe that, going back to my original point, it's coaching staff, the head coach in charge does not know what he's doing, did not make the right hires, obviously, with the defensive coordinator, and then again with the offensive coordinator, because the offensive coordinator has completely failed this quarterback. You can say Justin played bad again, which fine, whatever, 99 passing yards, inexcusable in today's NFL, especially when you got a rookie like CJ Stroud going out there making big throws, getting wins like that. It shouldn't look like this. It just should not look like this from top to bottom. And I think what's most disappointing is you're absolutely right. We're right back here after a year of just optimism. Like, we were an entire offseason of optimism. There was no reason not to be excited as a Bears fan going into this season. They draft, we had the draft. Some big, some money was spent on some free agents that should have made this team better. And I mean, everything ultimately looks worse.
Yeah.
And that's inexcusable. This should not look worse. And granted, I know people are already going to be in the comments. Saw it yesterday. Guys, the Chiefs, what did you expect? Man, fuck that. The Chiefs have not been playing well the last 2 weeks to start this season. I'm not saying the Bears, we thought, you or I, either one of us thought they'd actually win, but they should have looked better.
Yeah. I mean, because it's the Chiefs, I'm not all that upset. You knew they were going to click eventually, right? And this isn't to excuse anything that happened, but to your point, like, oh, what did you expect? It's the Chiefs. I expect this Bears team to look like an NFL team. Like that's what I do, because if we're being honest, the Chiefs were nice. They could have hung 70 on us, just like Denver got hung 70 on them. They took Mahomes out. They didn't press it at all. And to be quite honest with you, the Chiefs had a little bit of a reason to do so. Patrick Mahomes is still a little, he talks about it. He says he said it right in the press conference. I maybe don't think about it as much anymore, but it does feel good beating the Bears. They didn't pick me. They picked Mitch over me. And, no matter what we or anyone else in Chicago feels about Matt Nagy, they love him in Kansas City. You don't think him and Mahomes were in that, in preparation rooms getting ready to try to beat the dog shit out of us? Of course they were. They both feel a way about the Chicago Bears, and it's no secret at all. So they called off the dogs, and they didn't have to. And with being in year 2 of this system, with this philosophy, with this coaching staff, it can't look like that. Again, it's not about. We talked about this last week. We talked about it against the Packers. It's not about winning and losing still. This is a very young team. If they were losing, it's not about, the actual loss itself. It's about the way that they're looking. Who's progressing? Is the scheme looking better? Is the offense looking better? Just like you said, that's the ultimate point here. That's where everyone is frustrated at. Nothing looks better. As a matter of fact, it's not even that it doesn't look better. It looks worse. It hasn't even stood the same. There's no unit on this team that looks better or even the same as last year. It looks worse, even down to what were weaknesses last year, like Luke Getsy's play calling. It looks even fucking worse. He's made 0 adjustments. It's awful. It's just a god awful product right now. Yeah, and you got Matt Eberflus talking about how they're practicing together for the first time, playing together for the first time. What is he talking about? It's year 2. Not everybody on this defense is new. It's the 3rd game of the season, and you had 2 months of training camp, a preseason. What do you mean you're practicing together for the first time? What are you talking about? And he's lost, man. He's lost. He doesn't know how to handle this. He doesn't know how to be a head coach. He hires the wrong people. They've completely destroyed the confidence of their prospective franchise quarterback. They don't do anything easy, right? They make nothing easy for him. Just look at Tim Jenkins. Go on YouTube and find him and watch his breakdown of Justin Fields' play, because he was basically like, I don't know what to make of the offense that he's running. Yeah. You just watch the play designs. You watch guys in you got 3 guys running the same route. You got a guy scheming receivers, calling plays for acting like their offensive line can block for more than 2 seconds. Like it's not working.
I think this needs a fresh start. It's tough because part of me really wants to say you got to keep Ryan Poles. You have to let him take another shot at this. But you kind of look at some of the decisions that he's made. I know it's game 3, but just from an overall perspective, the outside stuff also makes this look worse. The GM didn't really step up and take control. Neither did Kevin Warren, who you and I were both really excited because finally, like, a professional president in the building can steer this thing in the right direction. None of that happened. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what the answer is at this point. Like, did you give Ryan again, it sucks that there's not one thing that we can basically be like, all right, here's what we build for the future. Like, ultimately, I texted you and you responded in jest, but also there was some truth behind it. I was going to say, why don't we take a look and see what building blocks there are on this roster? And you said there are none. And while, again, a little facetious, sure, but when your 2 best players are a guy that you didn't draft in DJ Moore, who had a huge drop, can't happen, and a 4th-round rookie running back, I mean, like, if this thing was blown up, would it really be that big of a deal? If Ryan Poles was let go, would it really be that big of a deal? Would you feel like you're really missing out on something?
The answer is I don't know. I get where you're going with it, but again, it's so hard for me unless you really hang the Eberflus thing with him and you're like, you know what, he made that hire, who then Eberflus ultimately hired the OCs, and you know how the structure works. And if that's a fireable offense, I can't defend that. Eberflus has been bad. Nothing's improved. I will not defend that at all. But in terms of team building, I think he's improved this roster from last year to this year. He did a really good job of tearing it down. And again, my only point in it being in favor of keeping him is he really only had one off season. People are floating around the contracts he gave out with. I mean, these are like 1-2 year stopgap type of things. Like, remember last year, the only thing we said was like the biggest knock, the Claypool trade, not the biggest fan, still hasn't worked out that great. Cool. Call that an F. That's fine. A bad grade for Poles. But our other thing was, man, it sucks that like 1 or 2 of these guys, one or two of the 1 year waiver type of deals didn't pan out to get a 3 year. I'm thinking like Akeem Hicks or just someone who came here on a 1 year and they earned, their right to get a bigger deal. That didn't happen. Those were shots in the dark. Who cares, right? And this year for me, his draft picks are just a little bit too early to say. But again, right, now seeing the snap counts of these rookie defensive tackles and Tyler Scott, and it's like, again, if you want to point to he's the one that hired this guy who's making the decisions, I can't defend it. But ultimately, it feels like this coaching staff is the one that's holding back this roster. And it's not to say this is a Super Bowl team. It's not to say that this is a playoff team. But you can look at Arizona, who probably objectively has less talent than the Bears do top to bottom. They have a quarterback that they acquired just before the fucking season started.
A guy who literally every broadcast he's on now, they say he doesn't even know the name of the guys he's playing with.
That's what I'm saying. and so my point is, I know people still say like, oh, this needs time to gel, or that needs to, and to a degree that is usually the case until like week 4 or 5. That's when you know who you got in a team. You know what I mean? That's why we've been, banging on the door of like no division games until week 4. But at a certain point, just the philosophy and your ability to coach shines through even very early. Like, and if you don't see that with Arizona, people were already talking about could the Arizona coach be fired after 1 year just like they've done before? And well, does he really have a chance? He's just there to soak up losses. He's built something already. Look at that culture. Look at what he's got them doing. They've been in every single game, and these are games that they probably shouldn't even be in. Who the fuck in the world picked Arizona over Dallas?
Yeah, that's a good point. But I'm gonna tell you to pump the brakes just a little bit, because I had the same thought. I was about to text you this. I was about to say, man, we made a mistake and not look at that. Jonathan Gannon steps right in. And he has this team playing hard. But then I remembered, you got to, not you specifically, but Bears fans in general do have to remember, to start the year, the Bears were playing well last year. They were playing hard. They got some wins that you and I never thought they would get in a million years. He had this, Eberflus had this thing working. He had it rolling. And the team was playing hard. And then I ultimately, Frank, what I think happened was I think that Packers game was a lot more important than I think you and I realized, because we saw the bench, right? We all saw the players looking dejected.
Yep.
It was like, what is going? Why are they looking like it's the first game of the season? Because they knew they were in training camp. They knew where this thing was headed. They saw the things that we were about to see, and they saw that this thing was just not going to work. I don't know where the intensity has gone. The hits principle, right? The hustle, not there. Intensity, not there. Turnovers, yeah, they got 2 at the end of the game against Chad Henne. Who cares? And then being smart. I don't really think this team is that smart from top to bottom. And it's just, I don't understand how we've gotten to this point. How a team coached by a second-year guy is just completely flat. They're done, man. Like this, they tune him out. He sounds like a clown, right? He's talking about Wednesday practices. This feels like Mark Trestman all over again. It really, really does. And that's why I'm saying, listen, there were some questions when he got hired about Eberflus and his connection through the agent with Ryan Poles. There were some questions about that. Is this a Ryan Pace, John Fox situation? Somewhat similar, although Eberflus obviously didn't have the experience as a head coach. But I just think the Bears wanted something so specific. They wanted to go back in time to something that they were comfortable with. Okay, yeah, we'll hire a first-time GM, but we really want something that we know. And they went with a guy who runs the cover too, who came from the Lovie Smith school, Rod Marinelli. They know that. They understand. And unfortunately, they don't have the players to do that. But it feels like a lot of what we used to talk about with Matt Nagy's system, where it's like, okay, every other team does not have the perfect roster. Why do the Bears always seemingly have to have top to bottom everything for it to work?
Yeah,
it's just that's a detriment to your coaching staff.
But it's the other thing though, Jack, is like, for me, it's not even like, oh, it's not working. Like we know that this roster is still talent stricken. It still needs more blue chip players, just generally, no matter what scheme that you're running. But again, like, we've seen good coaches with their philosophy, with their ability to coach people up. We've seen it in Chicago. Vic Fangio in 2015, when he got here, it was like Pernell McPhee and Aaron Lynch looked good under him. And it's not that the defense were world beaters, but it was like, you saw something. You saw the semblance of, like, man, when they get this, when they get that, when they plug in a couple of pieces, Vic's got something going on here. He just needs the talent now, to really make it pop. You don't see that here, man. And like, even looking at the offense, I was thinking about this before we started recording. Like, you look at something like the New York Jets, where it's like, it's very clear that the quarterback is holding that offense back. They have a solid line. I think they have an okay run game, when especially Breece Hall continue to get going. Wide receiver talent out the fucking wazoo. They're phenomenally built, but it's very clear Zach Wilson just isn't good at playing quarterback. I would rather us be in that position. As heartbreaking as it would be, their situation is different because they thought A-Rod would be healthy. They can roll the dice with him. But it's like, at least it's like, you know what? He stinks. We're gonna have to just try to replace him. That's our job, is to get someone or build him up or something. Like, it's like you look at this team, man, and it's not to act like Justin Fields is perfect. He still has a lot that he has to work on. But to even say that, but then also say he's also not the biggest problem on this offense, that is fucking insane. He's not a perfect quarterback. He has things he has to work on. And as a matter of fact, I think to the detriment of this coaching staff, he has gotten worse mechanically. Just like you talked about earlier with his confidence, they've neutered him. And it's not to take away anything from him. At a certain point, he still has to have personal accountability and rise above this, unfortunately. But it's like, dude, we're seeing it nationally. Like, I don't ever remember a Bears quarterback in a bad situation. We remember that happened a lot. But I'm saying like, but then nationally, people were like, yeah, I don't know what he's supposed to do here. You hearken to your guy. There's another guy within the quarterback school, O'Sullivan, who says a lot of the same things. He's like, look, he missed a throw here, he missed this open receiver here, but like 80% of this is Getsy. I don't understand what his plan is. I don't understand what his philosophy is. I don't understand what the makeup of this offense is supposed to be. Terry Bradshaw is on NFL on Fox. Like, yeah, the kid's talented. I just don't know what the fuck they're doing. And again, like, I think people just see, like, if you actually get a system around him, you would have some production. But what is happening here? Like, that's my problem. Is we don't have, any semblance of an identity on any side of the ball, and that's a huge problem. Right.
Well, you hear, Greg Olsen, which I think was nice, I think, for Meatball Bears fans to hear it coming from him, because they obviously, they loved Greg Olsen. That was their guy, right? And him being like, I don't know what this offense is. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. And, credit to Luke Getsy. You can talk as much shit about him as you want, but God damn it, he will continue to run the ball when they're down by 40 points. He does not give a shit. All right. He's running those plays. He's running bubble screens 2-on-4. It's just like, it's just, they don't use it. It goes back to so much of what we talked about last year, where it was just like, they don't use their players. They just don't get them involved. They don't, this offense is not built through the run. They got one of the running backs they signed not even playing, so that they can have Velus Jones stand back there and do literally nothing. And if they are going to run the ball, why not have your blocking wide receiver, Equanimeous St. Why'd you bring him back if he's just not going to play? Like, it just doesn't add up. Nothing adds up. It's this offense is so predictable. They don't do anything well on this team. There's nothing that you can point to that you're like, man, this team can do that. And the whole thing that pisses me off, that makes me frustrated about Ryan Poles right now and his team building, is we did have a lot of, say what you will about how he broke things down. Say what you will about how he spent the money. We both thought that was smart. Maybe he could have got another guy here or there. But in terms of the draft, you and I had questions about why he was deciding to draft Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker over wide receivers, building the way that he built it. And the one thing that we were like, okay, we're not going to have to worry about this, the secondary. Everybody is fucking hurt.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's just like, man, like, this team can't catch a break. There's two starters on the offensive line. Nate Davis was active but didn't play, which that's a whole other conversation. But it's just like, there's nothing is working. Nothing is that they're doing is working. Literally nothing. So it's hard to go through a day like that when you got some Bears fans being like, well, it's the Chiefs. What did you expect? Like, dude, come on, be real.
That's a bad take.
You can't say that you expected this.
Yeah,
you can't.
It's a bad take, because again, even if you were to say, because again, like where I sort of had that mentality is like the defense. Like, that Chiefs team was always going to light up this defense. But then that makes me look at the offense and say, what game plan did y'all, you had to know you were going to fight fire with fire here. Or are we just fucking in la-la world and everyone participation trophy land where it's like, our defense will keep us in the game. Like, is there a moment of honesty in this offensive room to say, like, hey, we're coming up against the high-powered offense, we're going to have to fight fire with fire here and match them point for point? You get what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm more upset with the offense than I am the defense, because we didn't come to in this year with that high of expectations. We knew there was no pass rush. Our only hope was that the secondary could dominate and we can get some coverage sacks. But even, dude, it's not exclusive to just week 3. It happened with Jordan Love. It happened with Baker Mayfield. So they were getting 7, 8, 9 seconds sometimes back there without even having to roll back. And like, that to me is like, sometimes the coverage is really good, but eventually someone's going to get open. These are NFL receivers. Like, it's almost absurd what happens on that side of the ball. But yeah, man, for me, heads have to start rolling. Alan Williams, he's gone. He's not coming back. That is what it is. How much longer is this leash on Luke Getsy? You literally have former players. You have current broadcasters. You have current players. You had a Buccaneers linebacker telling DJ Moore they're not using you correctly after 1 week. That was pregame. Like, how much more do you have to see from people to realize that your offensive coordinator is not it?
And then he gets 3 targets. Well, before he that last drive, which whatever. But
yeah,
and when it mattered, he couldn't get the ball. And when he did get thrown the ball, he dropped it. And Darnell Mooney has completely disappeared from this offense after a really good first week.
Yep.
Khalil Herbert just looks like a guy again. And he doesn't even look close to the player he was last year. Which, again, what does that tell you? That tells you that
we talked about this last week. The run game has regressed immensely. And again, people can point to injuries on the line and this and that, but when this is your identity, when this is what you do,
exactly.
Kyle Shanahan can run the ball with anyone in that backfield. He could fucking put me at left tackle. He'll find a way to get 3 yards. And obviously I'm exaggerating. Everyone knows that, but like when this is your identity, you make it work. Like you're able to do this still, and we don't have that. We don't have that at all.
No, and no one on the off. I mean, besides Darnell Wright, he looks good.
He look good. Which
he looks good.
Again, and I hate to be the Darnell Mooney is the reason that these guys are staying here, but like that does show me that Poles knows a little something. You need these higher end picks. The second round picks for both years haven't done as much as we'd like, but he's looked very good. He's been I think the lone bright spot on offense, if we're being honest.
Which, when your rookie right tackle is not the key. He's not the. It's just like, just nothing is working, and that's where frustration sets for me, because we talked about it. You're absolutely right. Nobody expected the defense to be top 5, top 10, nothing, right? But when you hire a defensive head coach, it can't look like this. You can't be last in all major categories, regardless of talent, because there is some talent on this team. Like, you can't argue otherwise. It's bad. Be able to coach. It's bad all around.
You've got to be able to coach somebody up. And I mean, this goes back to when we were talking about Matt Nagy. After year 1, who got better after that? Nobody did. At all. Everyone continued to regress. And like this Bears regime, this coaching staff started at rock bottom damn near. How the fuck did you regress from that? How was your quarterback looking worse with better weapons? How was your run game looking worse with better running backs? How was your receiver group looking worse with better receivers? It doesn't make sense. How was your defensive line looking worse with better talent on the defensive line? How were your linebackers looking worse with, I don't want to say better because I think Roquan pound for pound is better. He didn't fit the system, but you have guys who actually fit your system. The linebacking core looks worse. And the secondary is just depleted. It's hard to say, but it's like, again, what has gotten better? Cairo Santos? They get him in a nice squat regime? I mean, what, like...
Yeah, that's ultimately the question, right? Like, if Ryan Poles, hopefully he did, but if he had them in the office today and said, why should I keep you around? What would they say? What could they point to? What could Luke Getsy point to be like, this is why I deserve to be your offensive coordinator?
Yeah. I mean,
this is the offense I built.
If I'm Kevin Warren,
what would he say realistically?
No, I don't know. Say? But then here's the other point. Kevin Warren is the football guy now. He's the guy that George hired, and we like that. I still do. He has nothing to do with any of this at this point. I think I'm a little bit more in Ryan Poles' corner than you are. I'm not saying you're out on him by any means, but I think I skew a little bit more, in favor. If I'm Kevin Warren and you're Ryan Poles, and I say, Ryan, why do you deserve to be the GM next year? I want to blow this thing up. Why do you deserve to be at the ground floor of another regime? What can he say? I mean, the only thing to me is just like, look, I fucked up with the coaching staff. Look at the talent that I have. Javon Dexter, reviewing some of his film, some of these guys are putting these clips. He had some fucking plays last week. He was blowing some things up. He looked all right. But the only thing you can do is admit your fault with the coaching staff and say, but look at my ability to scout. These guys are making impact plays. It's just they're being held back due to my other fuck up. So
well, And what's frustrating is again, it goes back to our larger conversation that we've had for ever since we've been doing this podcast, 3-4 years now.
Yep.
It goes back to this franchise does everything backwards. And one of the things that we're really hoping that they would do when Ryan Pace was fired was they would actually hire Kevin Warren type guy first and let him lead the charge of hiring the GM, the head coach, etc. But instead, you hire the GM, you hire the head coach, you hire the president of football operations after that. So if he does want to make a change, now you have to give him some time? Why? He wants to put in his own system. So I think, again, I would be okay with them moving on from Ryan Poles only because then Kevin Warren could bring in his guy and they could build everything out off of that.
And it's like a true reset.
There is nothing to, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, you can disagree, totally fine. There is nothing that Ryan Poles has done so far that I would be like, man, we really could use that in the future. We really could build, like, as much as good as I think the offseason was, like, he was smart with his money. I thought he brought in good players. He did a lot of the stuff that we were hoping he would, which was good. Ultimately, he hasn't yet found any star players. Jaquan Brisker, sorry, looks like just a guy. Looks like just another dude. Like, he's hurt all the time, doesn't make any big plays. The defensive line, yeah, Gervon Dexter, fine, but he doesn't play. He plays like a third of the snaps. So it's just like, if he did move forward with a full rebuild, I'd be okay with it. I think I'd be okay with it. It sucks because I wanted it to work with Justin Fields, but let's being realistic, he's almost at the 30 start mark. And it just shouldn't look like this when you got guys around the league who are coming in right away and making. But granted, again, I'm not blaming everything on Justin Fields, but it just can't look like this already. It just can't.
No, I mean it is what it is. We scouted Justin before he was a Bear, and we were high on him. We thought he was a really good talent, but he, to me, falls maybe even a little bit more of an extreme case in the Jay Cutler category. I think this organization failed him much more than he failed this organization. Again, that's not to say he has
not for nothing that whole 2021 draft class, not a quarterback draft class, not looking very good right now. So
we scouted it. Well, no, I was wrong about Lance, but you had two, I had three like franchise guys. It was Burrow, it was Fields, and for me it was Lance. I thought he had a chance, especially.
Dude, Zach Wilson was your Hall of Fame quarterback. What are you talking about?
If I could rank him lower, I would have. But listen. Here's the thing, Jack. Before we can get into picks or anything, at the end of the day, it is what I don't think they will fire Flus, and honestly, I don't think that they should. Like, no one's gonna step in the interim and turn this thing around. You let him go the whole year, and if he continues to suck, we get the first pick. Cool. It is what it is. You just get rid of him then. OC has to go. There is no ifs, ands, or buts, because at the end of the day, you're still evaluating this quarterback, and you're gonna have to make a huge decision next year. But before we even get that far, there's still a lot of football to be played. Jackie, these next 3 games for me, it's the season, and it doesn't matter win or loss. But we've talked about identity, we've talked about culture. We talked about them week 1 looking like there was a funeral on the sideline. Like, this is going to be Matt Eberflus's last chance to show that, hey, I have this locker room. We have something here. And Jack, I mean, these are fucking winnable games, man. You have Denver, Washington, and Minnesota.
I know. We talked about this potentially being, them being at least 3-2 at this point after week 5. We talked about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's man, it's hard to even. I'm not saying they're gonna win any of those games, but you got completely outclassed against the Super Bowl champs. Again, it sucks. We should look better than that, but it's the Green Bay and Tampa games where you still look out of your depth against middling teams at best, if not like subpar teams. And then if it looks like that again in these next 3 games,
especially this next one.
Especially the next one. Yeah.
After a
Especially
team
the
just
next
got
one.
70. Let's get to our picks, and I'm not going to break down the Broncos Bears game. We're probably not going to be doing breakdowns anymore, right? We're probably just going to give our thoughts.
Because I mean, the thing is though, Jack, and I don't want anyone to think that we are, you know, I don't even know what
Lazy.
the right word is. Like, we're being lazy about it. Like, what the fuck is there? The same thing that I can't even break down that game. Like, I usually take notes during the game to say, oh, this is the point I want to make. Here's maybe what Justin can do a little bit better. Here's what I saw here. How do you even break down anything? There's so much dysfunction on both sides of the ball that there isn't like a pinpoint thing. Because the only thing I left that game with, Jack, was honestly what I saw when I saw him make that throw to Claypool, when I saw him make the throw to DJ Moore. I'm like, Justin, just keep doing that, dude. Even if they're drops, just keep doing that. Give your players chances and just say fuck it. Because there's going to be no one open because of the scheme. DJ's the only one who can get any sort of separation. Just chuck that bitch. Like, that's all you can do at this point. And speaking of that, Jack, before we get to our picks, last thing. My son woke up from a nap 2 minutes before Chase Claypool dropped that 50-50 ball. And he's like, oh, the Bears are still on, Daddy? I was like, yeah, the Bears are on. And he was like, oh, are they winning? Like, what is Justin Fields doing? I was like, we're looking really bad. Like, we're losing big time. He's like, oh, okay. Right after I say that, Justin Fields launches it, hits Claypool on the hands. He drops it. He said, ooh, they both fell down. I said, yeah. He said, Daddy, aren't they supposed to catch the ball? I was like, yes, son, they are. I wish there was like a camera in my house because I could not stop laughing after he asked it. He's like, aren't they supposed to catch it? I was like, yep.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah.
A tale as old as time. A son, a father, a Bears fan father telling their son that their offense should be better.
No, he told me
that
they should be better.
Well, and then what last thing is I did want to touch on that I wanted to mention is, in regards to just wanting to be, in favor of a full rebuild. This team might have two top 5 picks, two top 5 first round picks.
I know.
And that to me, and let's say Caleb Williams is in play, right? They have the number 1 pick. Dude, you have that Kevin Warren would have literally his pick of anybody, because anybody would want to come here for that. You have 2 first round picks and arguably, right now at least, one of the best quarterback prospects ever. So,
Jackie,
we'll get to it later. It's only week 4.
Quick thing though is you couldn't keep anyone on the coaching staff because the thing is.
No. I agree. Yeah, nobody can. No.
Hey,
and that's why it's not Justin Fields, man. That's why to me it's not Justin Fields, because you just see on Twitter everybody talking about, well, if they brought in Caleb Williams, it would look the same. Yeah,
it would.
Exactly. That's why we were telling you not to worry about Bryce Young.
They're very similar prospects, and if they did this. If this coaching staff did this with Justin Fields, they would do the same exact thing with the guy who holds the ball too long, who doesn't have the best pocket presence, who rolls out sometimes a little too early. It's similar level of athlete. He's the same player. He's the same prospect. It's not the same. What may separate them is maybe what's in between the ears and processing speed. But again, we people thought that of Justin as well. Oh, he'll be able to speed it up, and he has a little bit, but it just hasn't happened. So you have to get someone who knows how to play to that strength, who knows how to get him out in open space, who knows how to and. This team couldn't do that with a very similar prospect, or this coaching staff. So, yeah, you'd really have to blow. Not that I'm advocating for Flus to keep his job after this year, but you would have to clean house, and the only one you'd consider keeping is Ryan Poles.
It just sucks that we're already back to talking about tanking and getting the first pick, and because that was the whole point of having the Panthers pick. That's what was going to be fun, because we could worry about this team being good, getting a middle round, middle of the pack pick, while also potentially having another top 5 pick because of the Panthers. That was the whole point. But now it's like, all right, well, I guess now we have to root for 2 top 5 picks. Okay, let's get to our picks for this week while week 3 is still happening. It's still happening. We haven't even wrapped up week 3 while we're recording. Little change of pace here, but Thursday night football, Detroit at Green Bay. Frankie, they burned me 2 weeks ago. They burned me again this week because I picked against them. So I'm gonna see what happens. I'm gonna go with Detroit on the road in Green Bay, because say what you want, Packers fans going fucking crazy talking about, oh my God, what a win, what a comeback. Shut the fuck up. All right, Derek Carr gets hurt, you guys win. Like, come on. What are we doing here? You guys were getting your asses kicked. Give me Detroit. Give me Detroit.
Yeah, I'm going Detroit as well. Detroit may start separating themselves as the best team in the division very soon, starting with this game.
Yeah, this could be it. Atlanta at Jacksonville. Man, not expecting this from Jacksonville. I called them a playoff team last week, and
you did.
I sort of regret it because I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville, but it's not good. That being said, though, Atlanta, that offense just is not. It's just not very good. Give me Jacksonville at home.
Yeah, give me Jacksonville as well. Atlanta, yeah, they're built so weird because they have so many good receiving options.
Their best players.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't pay close enough attention to know if it's coaching or what. I'm going Jacksonville, but listen, if Jacksonville continues on with this, remember, this is why we were scared of getting Doug Peterson, because this was the same thing even when he won the Super Bowl with Philly. He had that one good year, and then it just sort of tailed off. Is he just one of those guys that, makes that one adjustment and does things, and they get used to him, but he can't counter back? I don't know, but...
You know who they compared him to?
Nagy.
Matt Nagy.
Yeah, I know.
It was the same thing.
I know. Well, I'm going Jacksonville. Let's see if he can prove that wrong.
Rams at Indianapolis. Indy with a very, very solid win, which honestly I wasn't totally surprised about, just because that's such a win that Gardner Minshew is going to get. Like, it's pretty wild. But I'm going Rams. I don't think Indy's going to pull it off twice in a row.
I don't know, man. Indy's got a little spunk to them, dude. So like they don't have the most amount of talent. But
yeah,
they just
like him.
Yeah, I'm going Indy. I'm still not complete.
Okay.
Something about the Rams, just I don't know.
Okay,
I don't
Fair
trust
enough. them. Baltimore at Cleveland. Speaking of not trusting them, Baltimore and that thing. It just hasn't looked quite right. Cleveland looked a little bit better on offense. Even without Nick Chubb, which was kind of surprising. I did pick them to win last week, so I'm going to pick them to win again at home. I'm going Cleveland. I'm going
Cleveland as well. Deshaun had a really good game. Like that was the Houston Deshaun Watson that we came to know. And I don't know, Baltimore, like, we remember we used to make fun of Pete Carroll and the way that Seattle team, that's them. No, they're that. They play the same game everything is a struggle with them. I don't understand it. Yeah. I'm going Cleveland.
Well, Nelson Aguilar is their best wide receiver, so maybe that has something to do with it. Minnesota at Carolina. Wow. I'm going Minnesota only because I think talent should win out. Like, Minnesota's been in these games and arguably probably should have won this week against the Chargers. Carolina's just not. They looked better with Andy Dalton, so that should tell you all you need to know about Bryce Young. Give me Minnesota.
I'm going Minnesota as well. Their losses this year have been the opposite of their wins last year. They got a little lucky, and it feels like that luck has sort of turned. It's been one player or two that they just, they can't get it done. But on paper, they are the much, much better team than Carolina. I think the Vikings get their first win.
Cincinnati at Tennessee. I put an asterisk next to this earlier today because I wanted to wait to see what happened with Burrow. He is playing on Monday Night Football, so I feel comfortable picking Cincinnati because, man, how much longer is Ryan Tannehill going to be asked to be the quarterback? And it may not even be his fault, honestly, what's happening, but you might just need something different on offense because what they're doing now just it looks really, really bad. And honestly, Derrick Henry kind of looks like he may have age may be finally catching up to him a little bit. So give me Cincinnati on the road.
I'm going Cincy as well. It's still hard for me to say that about Derrick because he started years like this before, and then all of a sudden, so until he has a full year in which he looks this way, I'm not writing him off. But yeah, Cincy, they're just the better team. The talent's going to win out with them. They're going to come back and potentially even still make the playoffs. I'm going Cincy.
Tampa Bay at New Orleans. I'm going Tampa. I'm going Tampa.
Ooh.
I don't trust Jameis. at home. Like give me Tampa, give me Baker. Give me Baker. I like that offense. I like that defense too. I like that defense a lot. So
I don't know
they're
if I
playing a lot
trust
better.
Jameis. But I'm the flip of you. That Saints defense is something nasty. They're a really good defense.
They let me down though, Frank.
They
I'm
did.
Pick 'em.
They did, but yeah, I'm going Saints over Bucks.
Miami at Buffalo. This one,
Ooh.
I almost instantly picked Miami, and then I kind of did a double take. I'm like, wait, do I really feel? Yeah, I still feel good. Give me Miami. Buffalo's offense, they look better.
They do,
but they're still just, I don't know, like they kind of get into these weird rhythms. So I'm gonna pick Miami because I think it's a fun pick. So I'm going with Miami.
I'm going Buffalo. I'm going Buffalo. And this is gonna be a fucking game though. This is gonna be a very good game.
Yeah, I'm not saving this for last. Denver at Chicago. Let's just get it out there. I'm picking Denver. I'm picking Denver. I'm not picking the Bears again this year.
I'm not, unless, again, they have these 3 games to completely get it turned around for me before I, sort of reassess to see, if I like this team at all. But yeah, that is a shame though, Jack, that the team that just gave up 70, we're picking them to beat the Bears.
And not only that, our favorite.
And their favorite.
On the road.
I'm seeing -3.5 right now. It was -2 to open it up.
On the road.
That's
their
nuts.
favorite. A team that just gave up 70 points. I mean, listen, if this offense is going to look good at all this year, it would be this game, but I just have no confidence that they'll score more than 10 points.
35 against Washington. Again, the enemy is doing his thing. Hope he continues to. Hope he gets a head coaching job next year. But you gave up 35 to Sam Howell, man. Gee.
And you already know the Bears will score 10 points. Max. It's pathetic.
Dude, just give me false hope.
Yeah. Yeah, like lose like 35-34.
Yeah, I mean, that like 6-game stretch that we had last year, I did it with Miami, with Detroit, with Minnesota. Like, I'll take those losses all day. We were fun. I can't do this. I can't do this just abysmal product of football.
It's rough. Washington at Philly. Give me Philly. Not even going to waste time on this one.
Philly, yep.
Pittsburgh at Houston. Kind of wanted to pick Houston, but I'm not going to because I think TJ Watt's going to absolutely destroy that offensive line. Give me Pittsburgh. Come on.
I'm going to get spicy, Jackie. I'm going Houston.
I need you to apologize to Kenny Pickett real quick.
No. Fuck no. Absolutely not.
I don't blame you. Raiders at Chargers, the first 305 game. Give me the Chargers because I think Jimmy G is in concussion protocol. I wouldn't pick them anyways because you got to love the fact that their head coach, at least we don't have him as the head coach because he doesn't know that you can score 8 points in one possession. He thinks it's 2.
That was nuts.
I couldn't believe that.
When they were like in real time, I was like, what is he doing right now? I couldn't even think of the logic, and neither could the. And usually, someone's like, "Oh, like this is why you have your 3 top." They'll break it down, even though a lot of it's common sense for people who've watched football for more than a couple of years. I was flabbergasted that that's what he was doing in that moment.
It's just funny how the team looks the exact same that they did with Derek Carr. I mean, you got Devontae Adams putting up ridiculous numbers.
They're the same player, though. I mean, what did they expect? Exactly. They side graded at best and downgraded at more. I mean, it's. Except
Jimmy G is hurt more often than Derek Carr is.
That is true. But I'm going Chargers as well.
I liked Herbert with the sleeve. I'm not gonna lie. Keenan Allen. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Jesus, man.
Ooh. Arizona at San Francisco. I think this is kind of where the fantasy land ends a little bit here for Arizona. Give me San. If Arizona wins this game or keeps it close, I may be starting to pick Arizona a few more times this year because absolutely insane what they were able to do against the Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, give me San Francisco.
I'm going Niners as well. But the Cardinals, just like you said, if they keep it close and they make a game out of it, man, that's going to be impressive.
Josh Dobbs might be comeback player of the year. Sorry, DeMar Hamlin.
Well, I mean, DeMar hasn't even suited up outside of the preseason. That's
Exactly.
tough to give him an award. But yeah, I agree. He's looked good, dude. Like surprisingly good.
He doesn't know the names of the guys he's playing with. And he's having better games than our first round quarterback. Whatever. I'm not going down it. New England at Dallas. Dude, Mac Jones, dirty player, apparently. Just bad all around.
Yeah,
that team sucks. That team sucks, and that should tell you all you need to know about Zach Wilson by proxy. I'm going Dallas at home against this New England team. Come on.
I want to go Dallas as well, but I still really like the Patriots defense.
But do you like the Patriots offense?
No, I don't, and that's the problem. I mean, I could forecast as being like a 13-10 game with the special teams on either one, being the deciding factor on like a punt return touchdown or something. I'm going Cowboys too, though. I don't think they have 2 straight bad weeks.
Sunday Night Football, which we'll see if we'll see if this gets flexed out. I don't know if they can though, because it's only week 4.
I think that starts week 6 or something like that. Week 7.
Yeah. Kansas. I'm sure that'll be changed in the offseason again. Kansas City at the Jets. Stop. Just Kansas City. Stop.
Yes.
Full stop.
Going Chiefs.
I saw some people saying that maybe the Jets should try and get Kirk Cousins and just let Minnesota accept it. But I don't think they'd do that because Justin Jefferson's a free agent. So.
And yeah, I remember going into the year too. Justin Jefferson's like, yeah, like we weren't that close, and I'm like, why aren't you just giving him a blank check? He's the best receiver in football.
Maybe the Bears do that.
That would be nice.
DJ Moore, Justin Jefferson, Caleb Williams.
I'm really mad at DJ Moore for dropping that pass.
I know. That's like just. But how Bears is that? That DJ Moore probably catches that 100 times out of 100 times outside of Chicago. Comes to Chicago, and he's like, all right, I'm a bum now.
Yeah,
I'm a fucking bum. Monday Night Football, gross. God, they really had the stupid. Why does every New York team have to be on every primetime game? It's disgusting. Seattle at the Giants. Give me Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going Seattle as well. I mean, they're just sort of picking up where they left off last year.
Yeah, Kenny Walker looks better than he did last year, which
he does.
Good for him.
Charbonnet is dead.
He was never on. Dude, you gotta love the offseason.
Yeah,
you gotta love it.
Kenny, he runs so fucking hard.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. I remember we talked about this to bring it back to the Bears before we wrap it up. Not only like has the run game regressed, it doesn't look good, but it's like we sort of talked about this in the offseason. Like they were still missing that punt. That was why we were in on a potential Saquon Barkley deal to the Bears, because it's like they just don't have that guy who can take it to the house. All these guys will stumble to get you 6 yards, 5 yards. They don't. Justin is the only one that can. And now defenses are planning for that. You look at the soft coverages and what they're doing with defensive ends and such, and he still has to wait. The one place, and I don't want to make us go down the rabbit hole. He still doesn't step up in that fucking pocket enough, like or ever. He just doesn't step up in the pocket. I didn't even do that. But
yeah, like climbing the pocket, like Tom Brady, and
yeah. I mean,
because he doesn't know how. It's because he was never coached to do it. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to do it.
But I look at Ken Walker, and he just, even like Pacheco, even though Pacheco runs so fucking weird. He just runs so aggressively, but it's like he doesn't go anywhere. Like it's like
he doesn't go anywhere. He looks like he's running through mud.
Yeah, he has a strange run style, but when he gets in open space, he's explosive. Like the Bears just don't have that.
No, and so that's kind of the funny thing, which again, I think I really do believe that there's some sort of disconnect between the front. I don't think the front office and the coaching staff are as close knit as they should be, because I do think that there is a disconnect between players, like the players they want versus the players they need. And it is really interesting when you really think about how this offense was supposedly supposed to be built upon. You're supposed to need this really good run game for everything to really work. But then if that's the case, why not draft Bijan Robinson? Right? Why not draft a guy last year? Right? Like what? They didn't draft a running back until the 4th round.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I mean, even
I'm not saying philosophy is different, right? I agree with what you're saying. You could find a running back anywhere.
No,
I agree
right.
with that. But if this offense needed a superstar running back, why didn't they go get one?
Yeah.
It's
but the other thing though,
weird. Man.
I also just don't believe that to be true. I believe that Getsy is in over his head because again, there's so many statistics that show that the run game doesn't even have to be effective for play action and rollouts and boots to work and misdirections to work. It's just about the look in the moment for the defense. And he doesn't use that run game to build off of anything. It's worse than Matt Nagy because at least Matt Nagy didn't hide from it. Like he just didn't want to run the ball.
He just didn't want to run.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Jackie, we're in dark times, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be this could be a rough season. Honestly, it's probably only gonna get worse before it gets better. The fact that you and I have no confidence in this team going up against a team that just let up 70 fucking points to a guy that the Bears didn't even bring in for an interview. Yeah. Let's just wash our hands of this and see what happens against Denver. But obviously, neither of us feel confident here at the Bear With Us podcast. I'm Jack. He's Frank. I mean, listen, I think people are going to be disappointed because we're past the point of angry. I'm not angry. I'm just sad.
That's the thing. We're down 21-0 against the Chiefs. I'm not angry. I'm not. It's just like, oh, okay. That's just who this team is. That's just what they do.
Tired. I'm tired. Just tired of doing this same podcast that we've been doing for the last. Things were supposed to change, and I guess they won't.
Were just supposed to be entertaining, at least.
Yeah.
That was it.
You could have asked me to predict this season a million times. I don't know if I ever would have predicted this so far.
Because again, even if you told me, I was in a coma and I woke up and they won 5 games and I would have been like, oh, but they were fun though, right? Like Justin made some strides, run game was good, defense maybe showed a little bit towards the end of the year, developed a few things, secondary was all right, maybe Dexter and Pickens were showing you some flashes. We're only 3 games in, but the fact that none of that, no fun, no development, all regression, that's a bad recipe for 3 games, man.
It is. Let's hope they turn it around at home against Denver. We'll see.
Denver 12, Bears 9.
Oh, God. Ooh. Oh, boy. Well, we do appreciate you guys listening to the Bear With Us podcast. As always, hopefully we provided some fun. Hopefully we provided some entertainment for you. We'll be back. Don't worry. We'll be back to talk about the Bears' loss to the Denver Broncos, 12-9, as Frank says. But we do appreciate you guys listening. Frankie, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Later, Jackie. Later, everybody.
Everybody love everybody!